And we are back. I'm going to hand it over to Peanut Gallery, and he's going to be talking about, we talked about Lucha Underground. He's going to talk about the Gift of the Gods Championship and the cultural and religious significance around the medallions. So go ahead.
All right. So I'm not going to bitch like I did the last segment, but we're going to talk a little bit about the Aztec Sun Medallion. So the Aztec calendar stone. And many of us kind of have an idea of what the Aztec calendar stone is. Now, the stones are actually very popular as medallions. Like, you get necklaces with those medallions and other, like, Aztec-y sort of, like, hootie-ha gifts. But most wrestling fans will understand the Aztec medallions as part of the Gift of the Gods Championship. And there were 7 of them. Now, the Aztec calendar stone, better known as the Aztec sunstone Piedra del Sol in Spanish, is an enormous basalt disc covered with hieroglyphic carvings of calendar signs and other images referring to the Aztec creation myth. The stone itself, the OG stone, is currently on display at the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City. It is 11.8 feet in diameter, it is 3.9 feet thick, and weighs more than 24 tons. The Aztec calendar stone was actually not a calendar, but likely a ceremonial container or altar linked to the Aztec sun god Tonatiuh, and the festivities dedicated to him. At its center is what is traditionally interpreted as the image of the god Tonatiuh within the sign Olin, which means movement and represents the last of the Aztec cosmological eras, the fifth sun. Tonatiuh's hands are depicted as claws holding a human heart, and his tongue is represented by a flint or obsidian knife, which indicates that a sacrifice was required so that the sun would continue its movement in the sky. As Tonatiuh's sides are 4 boxes with the symbols of the preceding eras or suns, along with the 4 directional signs. Tonatiuh's image is surrounded by a broad band or ring containing calendrical or cosmological symbols. The band contains the signs of the 20 days of the Aztec sacred calendar called Tonapatuli, which combined with 13 numbers makes up the sacred 260-day year. A second outer ring has boxes, each containing 5 dots, representing the 5-day Aztec week, as well as a triangular sign probably representing sun rays. Finally, the sides of the disc are carved with 2 fire serpents, which transport the sun god in his daily passage across the sky. The Aztec sunstone was dedicated to Moctezuma II and was likely carved during his reign, 1502 to 1520. A sign representing the date 13 Octal 13 Reed is visible on the surface of the stone. The date corresponds with the year 1479 AD, which, according to archaeologist Emily Umberger, is an anniversary date of politically crucial event. The birth of the sun and the rebirth of the Huitzilopochtli as the sun. The political message for those who saw the stone was unclear. This was an important year, or was clear. This was an important year of the rebirth for the Aztec Empire, and the emperor's right to rule comes directly from the sun god and is embedded with sacred power of time, directionality, and sacrifice. Archaeologists Elizabeth Hill Boone and Rachel Collins focused on the 2 bands which frame a conquest scene over 11 enemy forces of the Aztecs. These bands include the serial and repeating motifs that appear elsewhere in Aztec art: crossed bones, heart skull, bundles of kindling, etc., which represent death, sacrifice, and offerings. They suggest that motifs represent petroglyphic prayers or exhortations advertising the success of Aztec armies, recitations, which might have been part of the ceremonies which took place around the sunstone. Although the most prevalent interpretation of the image on the sunstone is that of Tonatiuh, others have been proposed. In the 1970s, few archaeologists suggested that it was not the face of Tonatiuh, but rather of the animate earth Tlatuani, or perhaps the face of the night sun Yolthuatli. Neither of these suggestions have been accepted by the majority of Aztec scholars. American epigrapher and archaeologist David Stewart, who specializes in Maya hieroglyphs, have suggested it may well be a defiled image of the Mexican ruler Moctezuma II. A hieroglyph at the top of the names of Moctezuma II, interpreted by most scholars as dedicatory or inscription of the ruler who commissioned the artifact. Stewart notes that the other Aztec representations of ruling kings in the guise of gods. He suggests the central face is a fused image of both Moctezuma, along with his patron deity, Huitzilopochtli. And so, when we're looking at the Gift of the Gods championship, it's a little bit of a fusion of these stones, these hieroglyphs, if you will, with the number 7, which in Christian culture is representation of perfection. If you collect all 7 of these medallions, you were said to have possessed the gift of the gods. And so, both in the culture of the Aztecs and in the culture of the Christians, you get a fusion of the two, which gives you that alignment that allows you to go for the greatest prize of them all within whatever culture this is in. And of course, this culture being the Lucha Underground culture. You collect them as if you're on a quest. And that truly is what you are. You're on a quest to collect these medallions that represent this journey that you are on. And this journey that you are on allows you to get to your ultimate goal, which is that Lucha Underground Championship.
Right.
So that is what the Gift of the Gods means, and that is what the medallions mean. It's not about necessarily the championship belt itself, but it's about the journey. It's about the sacrifice that you make on your quest to obtaining the medallions, getting all of them together, and then having that possession that allows you to get to the greatest glory.
Now, in any of these, it was a question that I was thinking of as you were explaining this. With the Gift of the Gods champion, with the Lucha Underground variety, it was something that they had to defend and do that. Does this have any significance along with that? When you have that 7 and the power of the gods, or the gift of the gods, is it something that can be taken away from you?
Well, yeah, again, we talk about the medallions themselves and the power that they have. And we talk about not only the good sides of those gifts, but also the trials, tribulations, if you will, that go along with it. So it's a burden and it's a gift.
Right.
But you have to, when it is presented to you, you have to defend. It's a balance. It's that balance between defense and the gift itself.
Gotcha.
So in order for you to maintain that position, you have to both win and defend at the same time.
So, there is a lot of significance around this championship.
Yes.
The symbolism and putting it all together and then fighting for the actual ultimate prize. Right. It was very much similar to Dragon Ball Z with the Dragon Balls.
It was, yes.
Where you found all of them, and if you were able to put them all together, you got the wish.
Right.
Which is actually a different Japanese thing,
yes.
Putting it all together, and then their symbolism of a dragon being that ultimate power.
Now, again, the number 7, that is not an Aztec tradition. That is a Christian tradition.
Yes.
The number 7 representing in the Bible perfection.
Right.
So they kind of combined the two pieces
I think it was great.
Together.
And the not only design-wise, but I think conceptually, the Gift of the Gods champion is one of my favorites ever.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like, I would compare it. I mean, it's even better than the Money in the Bank.
Yep, I felt the importance of the championship immediately.
Yeah.
Because you had to win a match to get a medallion. The medallion can change hands on your way to having the opportunity to face in that 7-way match for the Gift of the Gods champion.
Exactly.
And then when you acquire the Gift of the Gods champion, you have to defend the Gift of the Gods champion.
I'm curious as to whether Aztec Underground is going to reintroduce it. I would love to have that.
I really want something like that. I really do.
So anyways, that's my Bible study for the day. Anything else you want to add?
No, that was wonderful. It was great. It was very informative, too. Yeah, absolutely. So, when we come back, we're going to do a wrestling lesson, and we're going to do it on Stentinelius Zabisco.
Okay.
So, we'll be right back.